All right, good morning, and we're glad to have you join us on a fresh edition of Corporate Governance Platform, brought to you by the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN. I am Funmi Omoburio. Today on the program, we want to look at principles and recommended practices on appointment to the board. Principles and recommended practices on appointment to the board. That's our focus on the program this morning. And our guest is Ms. ITOHAN IRORO, ACIS, Mobilization Secretary, Lagos State Chapter, Senior Associate, Jackson Eti and Edu Law Firm. Good morning, Ms. IRORO.
Thank you so much, Titi. How are you today?
All right, I'm very well, thank you. All right, also with me in the studio is Mr. Kayode Ketefe, FCIS Head of Research, ICSAN. Good morning, Mr. Ketefe.
Good morning, Fumi. Good morning to you, our guest.
Thank you,
IRORO ACIS. I'm fine. And all our listeners, good morning to you.
All right, we're going to take this message and we'll be right back.
The world is constantly evolving into a knowledge-based economy where skills and competencies constitute the lifeblood of public and corporate governance. You therefore need to empower yourself to fit into this new world by gaining basic knowledge and improving your skill set in the governance-focused disciplines. That is why every aspiring as well as practicing professional in governance field needs ICSAN.
ICSAN. What is ICSAN?
ICSAN is a leading statutorily established professional body dedicated to enhancing the status and practice of corporate governance and public administration. ICSAN members are trained as chartered secretaries and administrators.
Who are chartered secretaries and administrators?
Chartered secretaries are high-ranking governance professionals with a broad base of skills, unique amongst other professions. They are trained in law, finance, accounting, administration, strategy development, and corporate governance. In today's world, chartered secretaries and administrators discharge a wide range of duties and responsibilities, including functioning as chairmen of companies, executive directors, non-executive directors, company secretaries, risk managers, compliance managers, board evaluators, and corporate governance evaluators.
That is interesting. How then do I become a chartered secretary and administrator?
Good. Go to the Institute's website, www.icsan.org. You can also visit the National Secretariat of ICSAN at Plot 6, Elephant Cement Way, Alausa, Ikeja, Lagos, to get full information on how to become members. ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.
All right, ICSAN, definitely the hub of governance professionals. And as I said earlier today on the program, Corporate Governance Platform, we're looking at principles and recommended practices on appointment to the board. All right, Mr. IRORO, why is the issue of appointment to the board important to corporate governance?
All right, thank you so much, Fumi, for this very important question. I think it's very obvious because a successful company must be headed by an effective board, and the board of directors usually provides some form of strategic leadership and manages an aspect of the board manages the activities of the company, which is like operations. That's where you have the executive directors and managing directors and all that. Then you also have the oversight functions when they come together as a board. So it's something that cannot be gambled with. That's why the Code of Corporate Governance it's very emphatic about having into the board. That's basically, without a good board, you can't have a good company or an effective company. I think that's let me leave it at that.
All right.
I mentioned, let's not forget the strategic role that they play. They perform oversight function, and they perform strategic leadership. So if you don't have people with capacity there, then how do they perform that function? I think that's a question.
Okay, in line with that, because you already mentioned the code, there's a recommendation that recourse should be had to considerations such as strengths and weaknesses of the existing board, integrity, required competence and skills. You mentioned that in passing earlier. Knowledge and experience, capacity to undertake the responsibility among others. Now let's look at why these factors are very relevant to appointment.
All right, it brings us to what we discussed before. If I am to provide, I like to bring it home. Sometimes you don't need to be too distant when you're relating issues like this. If you're to provide leadership functions, then it is expected that the people coming in have the capacity. Capacity cannot be overemphasized. So that's why the code is very, very explicit on that. So you have capacity. Then, of course, the experience. Why? Because you're going to be leading an organization, and in that organization, you have different set of people. You have those who are maybe on top of their game. Then you also have those who are probably just coming to also learn and help the company. So you need to be able to have people who can make effective decision, an efficient decision on behalf of the company. Companies, like we know, do not run themselves. People run them. And amongst the people that run them, at the top level is the board. So we must have a board that is not just only competent, but the board must be driven by integrity and, of course, experience, so that you are able to effectively, or the board is able to effectively run this organization. You know, board of directors sometimes are required to make very technical decisions. If you don't have people with technical skills, which is by way of experience now and capacity, then it becomes really difficult. So it's a must that those requirements must be present in the resume or in the experience of the individuals that is being brought to the board.
All right. Now, there is also consideration of diversity, which also includes gender diversity. Why do you think this is necessary?
Yeah, I would say that diversity, I think I should just go straight to the point. Men have been on the field for so long, and most organizations you go to, it's usually a very masculine in nature. And like we say, with respect to diversity, if you look at the population of wherever we find ourselves most of the time, what you have is 50% male, 50% female.
Okay.
Maybe slight variations. And you need the other aspects of the gender to be able to make some very effective decisions. And it's been proven that organizations where you have female, not just calling the shot now, we're not saying that in respect of diversity you should have all female board. While we are not saying that, we're also saying at the end of the day, or the code is also saying at the end of the day, you should not have all male board, because you have different capacities in different people. And like we say, the role of a woman or the role of a man, it's usually different. And the emotional composition, it's a little different. What a man or a woman would see, what a man would can see a different side. It's the same thing. The same thing goes for a woman. So whilst you focus on the experience, which cannot be sacrificed on the altar of diversity, but we must remember that in making such appointments, if you have male and female, and the female and the male have the same qualification and most of the time the same experience, then the company should be willing to create that needed diversity. Like I said, do not sacrifice diversity, or do not sacrifice experience or competence on the altar of diversity, but at the same time, the code has encouraged or made it mandatory, so to say, that the companies should consider diversity while not taking out experience, while not taking out capacity, but should consider diversity in its appointment.
All right, great. Is there any recommended size for a board to be effective and capable of discharging its functions?
The codes provides that the board should be sufficient enough, like you should have enough manpower or enough people to be able to run the board effectively. But SEC taking it a little further, Security and Exchange Commission pushed it a little further and then provided for a 5-membership board as the list for public company. Most of the discussions that we are having here relates mostly to public company, but private companies are also expected to bring into consideration the provisions of the code in all that they do. But when we deal with, I mentioned that because of the SEC that I brought into the picture, because SEC actually regulates securities and exchange commissions, everything that has to do with securities, public shares, and all of that. So that's why I had to quickly make that distinction. But SEC, in dealing with its corporate governance guideline, in line is not SEC. You have the code of conduct, the Nigerian Code of Conduct, corporate governance code. Then, in line with that code, SEC also provided its own, not deviating from the provision of the code, just created like a variation. Okay, you have a standard, the list that you should have is a 5-member board, but the code, like I said, provide that you should have enough to be able to run an effective board.
All right, I must say a very big thank you to you, Ms. ITOHAN IRORO, ACIS Mobilization Secretary, Lagos State Chapter, Senior Associate, Jackson Eti and Edu Law Firm. Thank you for joining us on Corporate Governance Platform.
Thank you so much, Fumi. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you too.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Ketefe, use of committee system is an age-long practice of the board. Now, what advice does the Institute have for the companies on the need to get the composition of their committees right?
Thank you very much for that question. Let me start by saying that the committee structure contributes a lot to good corporate governance. So that's why the committee system was deliberately developed over the years in corporate governance, and the purpose is to make the work of our board of directors easier and more efficient. Each of the committees, each of these committees has specific responsibilities, which are very important, and the performance of this function help to enhance both effectiveness and efficiency. The Code of Corporate Governance the world over recommend the establishment of some standing committees, and these are the audit committees, remuneration committee, nomination and governance committee. Some organizations may also have a standalone risk committee. All these committees, when they focus on specific areas that are delegated to them by the board, this enables the board to concentrate on more strategic agenda. So I laid the foundation because ICSAN is hereby advising companies and organizations to ensure that they get the right structure and the right mix in their committee system in order to reap all the aforesaid inherent benefits. Our institute can also assist in this regard by giving guidance to companies and other organizations on the issue of board composition as well as effective use of our committee system. Not to be forgotten is the fact that our training department also constantly features teams on board composition in their training calendar. It comes because it's an important team in corporate government. This team comes regularly, and the committee system also comes regularly. In addition to this, organizations, corporate entities may also approach ICSAN for specialized implant training for their top executives. And ICSAN has been doing this over the years, and we're glad to offer this service. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Ketefe, for that. Of course, and that's how we wrap it up on Corporate Governance Platform this Wednesday morning. We'll be right back here next week, Wednesday, 10:15 a.m., when we'll bring you a fresh edition of the program. I am Funmi Omoburiu. Enjoy the rest of the day.